Hello everybody, again to my channel. I do have some videos for you prepared. In this particular case now, I'm going to show you 4 different videos separately but in a row, in your language, and I hope you're going to like it. But first of all, I explain to you what it's all about. First of all, I will show you how you can do a waterfall cutout for the front, as you can see here on my dress. You can work this on top of any kind of t-shirt that you have already a pattern from. It's quite easy and simple, but I show you how to do it. The next video, the second video, will be how you can stitch this dress. Now this dress is without sleeves. You will see this in a moment, because at the moment it might look like I got a dress on with long sleeves, but that's not the case. So, first video, how to do the pattern for waterfall cutout. Second video I will bring to you is how to stitch this dress. When you have lots of patterns in the material, make sure you will cut it the way that all your patterns, also on the side seam, will nicely fit together. The third video will be how can I make the pattern for a bolero, for a shrug, because that's exactly what I got on here. On top of my dress, without any sleeves, I do have this little bolero on. I like it because I'm the kind of person, I do get warm quite quickly, but I also cool down very quickly. So with this particular dress, at any time I just throw the bolero off, or I put it on depending on how I feel. Yes, so you learn how to do the pattern, and video tutorial number 4 will be how you can stitch this. And all of these jobs are really also very well and easy for somebody that hasn't done so much sewing, especially when it comes to sewing this little bolero. Maybe you can buy a pattern if you don't want to make it yourself, but then for just sewing it, it's next to nothing. It's so easy to do, even if you're only a starter. And actually that also concerns for the dress. You can really easily sew it. If you don't want to do the patterns, I understand that. That's a little tricky in the beginning. But then buy a pattern, but make something like this, and you have your own wear that nobody else wears, and you can say, I made this. Alright, so why don't we get cracking and start to do our 4 videos. As I like to say, I repeat, first video, how to do the pattern for the waterfall. Second video, how to do the dress. Third video, how do I do the pattern for this little bolero, this shrug. And last but not least, number 4 will be how you can stitch this one really, really easy. Alright, here we go. Let's do some good working. And by the way, thank you so much for all those lovely comments I got from you. Although I know my English is sometimes a little bit cracky when I start searching for words, as it's not my language. But I hope it comes over to you the way you can do something with. Okay, let's get to the work.
To do a waterfall for your dress is actually quite simple. I show you one dress here that I've done quite a while ago, and it's you can especially see it very well hanging here on this doll like this. So my way, the way I'm going to show to you, is the easiest way if you're not really into making patterns. As I said, there's many different ways, but I try to show you a simple way. Take a main pattern that you might have at home that you used for doing either a t-shirt or a dress, and decide how long you want to do it. You can extend any t-shirt pattern that you do have for yourself just by lengthening it to the length you want it. So I don't like it if a waterfall cutout starts very close to the neck. That's why my shoulder part that I have here, I will first of all make much smaller. That means I will cut on the front. If you see, this is a normal neck cut out I have there. On the front middle, I will mark 4 centimeters down, and on the shoulder part from the neck, I will take 3 centimeters off. My whole shoulder here is at the moment 14 centimeters wide, but that is way too wide for me, and as I said, too close to the neck. So there I'm measuring 3 centimeters, and there I measure 4 centimeters down, and I do a drawing between those 2 marks. And first of all, I cut this particular part out. I prepared this already, as you can see, so you don't have to watch me too long. So that makes my shoulder much smaller anyway, and it's also starting farther on from the neck part. Exactly the same thing, of course, I have to do to my back piece pattern as well. We said on my shoulder part, starting from the neck, I will mark 3 centimeters, but in the middle on the back, I don't need to go so low. I will only mark 2 centimeters down. So I will again draw a slightly curved round, which I've done here already. 2 centimeters in the middle back, as I've said, and 3 centimeters on the shoulder, starting from the neck part. Always when you've done something to your patterns, check if everything still fits, because these shoulders are got to be exactly the same width. In one of the next steps, this pattern will be turned open, I would like to call it, in that way. Therefore, at the moment, I think my shoulder is still a little bit too wide. That's why I would like to, on the sleeve part, make my shoulder smaller on the back and on the front by 2 centimeters. So if I marked it on the top by 2 centimeters, there's one very, very important thing before you draw this new line that you have to consider and think about it. No matter which pattern you're using, and you might have used it and stitched something already, and this particular part fits you perfectly. So when you're very satisfied with the fitting of this part, when you take something off the shoulder away, make sure you never take any away on the curve, on the round that you have underneath the arm. That means you can see here, as I marked my shoulder to make it smaller, it ends somewhere there in the middle where it's quite small. But on the bottom part, I leave it exactly as it is. So I prepared this already a little bit for you. So I only need to rip this off. And exactly the same on my front part here. The other one was just the back. As you can see, I marked it 2 centimeters on the shoulder, and then I let it run out long before it gets to the round underneath the arm. So that is my finished shoulder now, the way in the width I want it. And again, when I've done something like this, I put my shoulders together and I check if they have exactly the right widths, because nothing is worse than if you continue working and suddenly at the end you think something is wrong somewhere. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? So keep on checking, no matter if it's doing a pattern or if it is stitching your parts together. Now I do have 9 centimeters here. But as I always have on all my patterns, my 1 centimeter seam allowance added already. That means 9 on each side, 1 centimeter seam. My finished shoulder will be 7 centimeters, and that's exactly what I want. So the pattern from my back I'm just going to put aside, because this turning up for the waterfall I will do on the front part. But what I can say right away to you, what I'm doing now to the front part, you can just as well do exactly the same kind of work with your back part. Because who says that a waterfall cutout has got to be on the front? It can be on the front, it can be on the back, or on both sides. On this front part, I also did a little preparation already as I cut this through here, because I like to explain to you, as an example, if you have quite a strong bust, you will have a bust dart in the patterns that you've been using, which usually comes out from just underneath the armhole, just from the side, or it can come from the waist, coming upwards towards your dart, towards your bust dart there. You see that on the pattern. And that is very, very good, if you look at that now, that you can use that as well for turning open the material, or in this case the pattern, to do this waterfall. So what I've done here is I cut through the middle, I marked a straight line, but you would have actually from your bust dart a point somewhere in your position. I just briefly mark this here for you so you can see what I'm talking about, because you would be cutting this open now exactly to the point where your bust dart would end. Let me show this to you. I just close my cut open here so I can explain this better to you. Because let's say there would be your dart point, then you continue that line from that point towards the front, cut it open, and now fold your bust dart over as if you stitched it on the sewing machine. And there you can see how now that part has been turned open for you and giving you already there a lot of widths that will then later on fall down in the front as the waterfall. But as I do not have a bust dart in my particular pattern here, then if I want to do this from the front like that, I will have to cut it in much longer, and I only leave on the pattern like a 2 millimeter piece stuck together still, so I can really fold this open nicely, because I don't have a dart. That means that wouldn't be turned over there. So now you can see from there on I can turn it over exactly to the amount of material that I would like to fall down or over onto my chest, or if it's the back part, onto the back part. So if you don't have a bust dart like me here, or you don't want to do it in that position, you can also do this starting from the neck down. As an example, you just do 3, 4, or 5 cut-ins like that, starting from your neckline down. And then is important, you must decide how much width would you like to fall over. Should it be just a tiny little waterfall, or do you want quite a bit of width falling over and down? And that depends a little bit on the size you are. If you're quite a small, thin person, then I would not work so much material into the front end. That would look like it's dragging you down. But if I have a big chest, then I need a bit of material there for it to look good. Otherwise, it's like doing a half job. And it also a little bit depends on which kind of material I have. Is it a very thick woolly material, or do you have a silk or a satin? That all you must work out and test it maybe on the doll that you have. Now you need an extra piece of paper. I slightly prepared this one already. You will see this in a moment. And you put your main pattern that you've been using so far on top of this piece of paper. First of all, put the front middle part, either if it's your front or your back, put that bottom part of the dress, of the shirt, directly on the edge together. And now I have this part cut open here already, as you can see. And now you must measure on your body exactly how much width you like to put on. So on your body, take a tape measure and put it to start from one shoulder to the other, and let it round fall over your front neck. I measured mine, and my measurement that I wanted from shoulder to shoulder measured in this round fall down 50 centimeters. But as we got only half a pattern here, I only need half, which means I need 25 centimeters to measure. So I start turning my piece open here, and you see it opens nicely up. And I said I want 25 centimeter that will fall down. So here I measure from this point how I measured from my shoulder when I held it onto my body. I said 50, but here now I got half of that, 25 centimeters from the shoulder to the front straight line where I put it onto the material. The side and the armhole sleeve I did already prepared, as you can see. So now I'm drawing exactly my shoulder corner up there, because it is very important that you know where your shoulder ends there. And with a right angle, I now from this shoulder point draw a straight line in a right angle to the front. But as I said, that shoulder point is very important for you to see later on. So I'll take this pattern away. As you can see, my armhole is prepared, my side is prepared, and I cut along this line my pattern out. Again now, you have two possibilities, as you have to think about, this is my top from my waterfall, but how do I want to finish this line off? Do I want to make an extra part to go behind, which I will stitch on, or would I like to cut it on right away that I only need to fold it over? And that's what my decision is. That's why I take another piece of paper and I will put my finished one here on the top on a straight line right away, and I will mark this part out now. Oh, I got two right wrinkles here already. That makes it easier. So I'm holding this on there, put my weight on, and now I draw my little bit of shoulder that I got there, as you can see, and I decide how long do I want the inside part to go down. Usually the waterfall, it is always better if you do it a little bit longer inside, otherwise you might see the inside lining showing out, and that wouldn't be very nice. So with other words, I copy that part totally out and decide how long my facing should be. It should be at least, to my opinion, 7 or 8 centimeters, and I cut this out. And now you have to consider if you want the seam already onto this, or if you do your pattern, and I show you this now right here. As you can see, if I put this over, this would be my facing right there. It has to fit on that shoulder part and completely along the top edge, because it is a copy of that top part, as you can see. Now you must consider, did you edit a seam allowance on there? So if you want an extra piece to be cut, you have to consider your 1 centimeter seam. That means it's practically 2 centimeters. You need 1 centimeter on each side. But I would like to have this already directly as one piece cut. That's why I will, on my dress that I show you how I will cut it and stitch it later, this will be one piece the way I'm doing it. And this little triangle you see here, that little piece is your shoulder part later on, while the rest, the straight line, is the actual waterfall part. For you to see this much better than just here with a paper pattern, I will show you what I exactly mean with this. Also this kind of stitching for that shoulder part, how to finish it off clean, you can very well see on the waistcoat that I did for you. So here I already prepared the back part for you, and I cut the front. As you could see, I had it 2 centimeters overlapped, because at the moment I got my 1 centimeter on there, but I've overlapped the pattern, and for that I can cut it in one piece, which is much better. And you can see this is exactly my fold over on the top that I have. Don't look at the bottom, because I'm only showing you in this video how to do this waterfall and not to do the whole dress. This will be the second video. You will see them. But what's very important later on is when you have this done like that, how nicely it is to finish these shoulders off very clean and well. So, with other words, you're on your sewing machine now. You take your back piece, and before you stitch the shoulders together, you have to finish the back, the top, completely. That is up to you now if you also want to cut an extra lining for it and stitch it. But as I only want to show you the waterfall here, all I do is just I'm folding over my round neck piece by 1 centimeter, because that is exactly the allowance I did cut on for my seam. But this is not the way you should do. You should finish it off properly. But I want to show you what I'm doing with these shoulders now. That was my idea. So you first finish the neck piece, however you want to do it, with a lining, with an interfacing, or whatsoever. Now you take your back and put it on top of your front shoulder. The good sides together, or better to say, right side on right side of the material. Now, you first of all, without folding the extra cut-on piece over, you just stitch along this 1 centimeter allowance that you have and do that little seam. And go backwards and forwards very well in the corner, so this stitch will not open up for you. Now, you cut a little bit the material in. Exact to say, you have to cut exactly to your last stitch that you have there, because now you can fold it over, as you can see. If you wouldn't have cut this in towards this last stitch that you have there, then it is not possible to stitch this without getting an extra fold into the material. You want it to lie perfectly. Now, when you stitch this together, it doesn't matter which side you're doing it from. I show you again on this side now. You take your back, put it on top of your front, and now you start exactly where your back starts, there, right there, and make sure you could cut this in first, like I do, because then you can lie this in this corner, and you could even do this in one go if you want to. You cut this 1 centimeter in towards your stitch, and as you can see, I'm doing it this way now. And all 3 parts I put edge on edge now, and I do my 1 centimeter seam all the way to the end. Now, if you open this up now, you will see that this corner is beautifully right in the corners, everything. And it's very, very tidy and finished off without any funny edges or seams sticking out. That's the way you should do the shoulder for your waterfall dress. So you must decide if you want to stitch them on singly, as I showed you on the first shoulder, or if you do it in one go by stitching it completely together in one go. So I would like to take you back to my doll again to show you my original dress, as I would like to explain to you something else about this. When we were doing the pattern, I explained to you how to measure how much width you actually would like to have on your waterfall. Well, this is an evening dress, as you can see, so I want it a little bit lower than if it would be a normal daily dress that I'm wearing. So you can actually take some extra material first of all, hang it on your doll, pin it on the sides, and pull as much width in the front in until you see that's how far down I would like to have it, and that's how much width I like to have. So that's quite easy. Pin it on everywhere so it's held on the bottom the way you want it. And then measure from the shoulders down, and you can also hold it like this if you wish, and say, okay, I'm going to measure either from the shoulder to the middle, that's the half size that you need to do the pattern, or you can measure just what you can hold there. And in my case, I got 8 centimeters half width here, which means if I would measure the other way around as well, it would be 16. And then I know that is exactly the width, how far I want to turn up my pattern to get the widths and the lengths in how I wish to have it. And when I mentioned to you to put quite a low interfacing facing behind this or lining, you can see here, as my inside material is totally a different color, if I don't have enough facing behind there and it falls a little bit funny, this could show out, and I wouldn't like that. So actually on this one I could have had it a centimeter lower, or when I wear it I really have to drape it in the right place how I would like it to fall. While making the pattern, I also said to you, don't make the shoulders so wide. It's enough if they are maybe 7 centimeters wide. Now this one is much smaller, but there is a reason why I made this particular one so small, and you will see this in a moment, what you can as well do. So I turn my little doll around, and you can see my back is totally different. And that is just an idea. If you have a nice evening dress or a summer dress, that you can do this. That means underneath your armhole, you're not going to start doing the side, but you cut your dress really as low as you wish from underneath the sleeve with a long cut out in the back or whatever. And then these little stripes, these ribbons that you have to prepare ahead in time, will practically go underneath the armhole directly into the side seam or wherever you would like to let them run into. So when you have this prepared, and the front, maybe you need a good girlfriend. As you can see, my shoulder here is only about 3 centimeters wide, because that's the width how I need to put my ribbons in that I prepared as spaghetti holders, as we call them. And you will stitch them exactly in the way I just showed you on the little piece that I had done. And then you might need a good friend. You put this outfit on halfway done, and she will have to pin it in for you on how tight you need it to be. Like I said, this has to more or less will be held onto the front side seam right there. Instead of making 2 or 3 small ones like I did, of course you can also make one wider one that might start, as an example, on the shoulders as a 3 centimeter one and goes wider and wider towards the bottom. That you can do just as well. That is, of course, again, all up to your design. You're your own designer for your own clothes. That is the idea about making your own clothes anyway. But as I mentioned before, yes, you can do this in the front, but maybe you don't want it in the front, so you can do exactly the same with your pattern on your back part and have the front maybe straight or on both sides the same. That is just the same possible. And there you do the same. You measure it by maybe pinning a piece of material on your doll first and holding it in the width as far as you want it to fall down. But if you want to do this on the back and on the front, you need another holder. And that means you must maybe prepare another ribbon exactly in the width of your shoulder, and that you will stitch in so it will stay on your shoulders. Otherwise, if you have in the front and in the back the waterfall, you're going to lose the dress all the time. It's going to be slipping down on the left, on the right, or whatever. So put a little holder between the 2 shoulders, and then you can have any kind of cut out in the front and in the back that you wished. So this was the original part that I did for you on the sewing machine to show you how to stitch the shoulders together. So I just drop my dress down here a little bit, take this little piece so you can see how this looks on the doll as well, because otherwise I could tell you a lot of BS and it wouldn't look right. But you see, I only threw this on the doll without doing anything, and you can see how nicely this waterfall falls right away there on the doll. Although this is not even a good material, this is some linen material I took to explain to you, but even that, just hanging it on the doll, looks perfectly right away. Well, I'm almost at the end with my video. I'm going to drape this a little bit, look at it again, and also there, if you do just a little part first to check, is that the way I want it? Take some leftover material, and now you can see, again, measuring, that is the width I put in. That's the amount when I took the pattern and opened it up that I added onto there. But you can make this shorter to have less waterfall, or you can make it much longer. Again, I repeat myself, it's your design, it's your pattern, it's your dress, and that's the way it looks. And I think that was easy, and it shows nicely, it looks good, and everybody's going to say, where did you buy that nice part? And you can see it's just perfect. So I hope my explanation for the waterfall was helpful to you. I hope you can really follow everything that I've been explaining, and I wish very much that you can or will try to do one like this. So what else can I say? I hope you give me some nice comments, as this was part number 1, how to do the pattern, and number 2 will come very soon on how to actually sew the dress. Have fun. Come around again. Goodbye for now.